Cougar fans? Peter Borkowski here on the Cougar Sports Network, bringing you this edition of Coaches Weekly. And this time, I'm joined by the head coach of CUC women's basketball, Coach Lauren Martin. Coach, welcome to the show. Excited to talk to you today.
Yeah, this is our first time, so it's like a brand new edition of this.
I know,
really
right?
Exciting.
It's history in the making right here.
It is.
Well, for you and your team, you've had kind of a quiet past week and a half. You haven't been in action since last Tuesday. So heading into a busy next week, you got 2 games coming up here at home. Just kind of tell me what this past week and a half has looked like for you guys. Without these games, have you kind of taken advantage of that time without, again, having to play a game since last Tuesday?
Exactly. We've put a lot of focus in on our offense, our defense, and just refining things, making some changes. And it'll be nice, obviously, to go and play on our home court tomorrow. But we needed the practice, we needed the time, and we've grown a lot from the last time we played.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned playing at home. You guys have your home opener tomorrow night. University of Chicago coming to CUC. And, I mean, University of Chicago, they're a talented team. They play in a really nice conference. They've been good for the last couple seasons. So, you know, after struggling a little bit in your first 2 games, now you've had this time off since your last one. What do you want to see tomorrow on both ends of the court, like you said, that you guys have been working on against U of Chicago to, even if it might not be a win in the W column, but just say, hey, this is a good sign of improvement as we continue forward through this non-conference schedule?
Yeah, I think one thing is we're really aggressive on defense, but now learning how to be aggressive without fouling. So being right up in there. We've had a lot of fouls our first 2 games, and so really that's something we want to see go down, but we want the aggressiveness and the right kind of aggressiveness to continue to be a mainstay of who we are and kind of our identity. Offensively, just sharing the ball more is really something we've been talking about. So regardless of what another team does, that's something that we just need to get better at every time we go on the floor, and just scouting them and watching them play has helped us not only watch what they do, but also be ready to compete and battle to put our team in the best position to go get the win, not only our first one of the season, but at home will feel nice too.
Right. Well, let's talk about playing at home. It'll be your guys' home opener, as I already mentioned. You spent the first 2 games on the road. So, I mean, can you just kind of talk about, we know how much of a home advantage Geisman Gymnasium can be at times. So can you kind of talk about just the advantages of finally being able to come home, play in your home court again after 2, struggling games on the road, just what it means to come home to Geisman, have that home crowd behind you guys tomorrow night?
Yeah, I mean, the games on the road, there was still so much to learn from and so many good things that had happened. They were both pretty far trips, which I think will give us great experience going into our conference season, especially with our first game being just about the same amount distance. And just being a young team, you build that camaraderie, and we had some great memories that had happened too. So building on that and now playing at home in front of your parents, in front of your fans, also having a great concession stand run by us for our Italy trip, so all proceeds go to that. I think we can't wait for it. And we played far on the road for our scrimmage as well too.
Right.
I think we hosted North Park feels like months ago.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's going to feel good just to be out there and be in that maroon and gold and take on the other team.
Definitely. Well, CUC women's basketball welcoming the University of Chicago to Geisman Gymnasium tomorrow night. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Coverage can, of course, be found on our website, cucougars.com, and the live stream on our YouTube page, CUC Sports. Coach Martin, thanks for joining me today, and good luck tomorrow in the home opener. And, Troy Prattley will enjoy talking next time you guys meet. But until then, this is Peter Borkowski signing off of the Cougar Sports Network and wanting to say, as always, go Cougs! What's going on, Cougar fans, and welcome inside Geisman Gymnasium as we get set for the 2023-24 home opener for CUC women's basketball as they are taking on the Maroons of the University of Chicago. Peter Borkowski, Troy Prattley here on the Cougar Sports Network. bringing you all of tonight's action. And Troy, let's get down to it with these two teams, starting with the Cougars of CUC. It's been a rough go for the squad to open up the season. 0-2 so far on the young season are the Cougars. They're coming off an 85-49 loss to the University of Anderson last Tuesday, and only one player in double-digit points. That was Sydney Nimsicott. We'll talk about her more in a second, but really it was the same story we saw in their season opener against Illinois College, which was the offense really struggling to get going.
Yeah, it's been the inability to score offensively for the Cougars that's really held them back in the first two games. Hanging around right around 40 points per game in those first two. They're struggling from the field and from the three-point line. Three-point percentage 21%, in the field 26%. Both of those well below the mark that you're looking for a successful team. And when those two numbers are that close together, you either have a really great three-point percentage or you've got a really bad field goal percentage. Right. And right now, CUC is hanging on the lower end.
Right, yeah, both those stats a little below where you want. You usually want that field goal percentage around 40% or so, three-point mid-30s. So CUC looking for some big improvements in that regard. But one of the bright spots of the offense so far, really the driving force behind it, has been the freshman Sydney Nimsicott, who, again, despite her first year in collegiate athletics this season, she has been the leader of the offense up to this point.
Yeah, and this is a player that Coach Martin was really excited to have part of this freshman class, and we've been able to see a little bit why so far in the first two games. As you mentioned, the leader in points and then also minutes as well. But tonight, she's going to need help from the rest of the CUC squad, especially playing a good team like UChicago. Chicago. They're going to have done their scouting report, and they're going to know that Sydney's going to be the go-to for the Cougars tonight. So we're going to look to rely on, some of those older players for CUC like Allie McGregor,
right.
the 2023 honorable mention all-conference player in the post for CUC. She's going to have a big night tonight.
Yeah, she's been very quiet up to this point in the season. Nimsicott averaging 9.5 points up until this point in the season. That is the team lead in points per game. But let's switch side to the other bench, University of Chicago, the Maroons, coming to River Forest. They're perfect 4-0 on the season, thanks in large part to the UChicago Midway Classic. They just hosted that this past week, and they went 2-0, including their most recent win, a 66-49 defeat of Middlebury College. And Troy, UChicago, they're kind of a picture of consistency. They haven't been under 500 since the 2013 season, and on top of that, they're playing in one of the best conferences in all of Division III.
Yeah, you mentioned it. It's incredible the run that they've been on these last 10 years or so. When you know they're playing great competition, right? They've got played in the conference with New York University, the #1 team in all the land in Division III women's college basketball, as well as Washington University, WashU, and then Emory as well, receiving votes in the polls for the top 25. And so this is going to be a battle-tested squad. I know it's early in the year, but they've got players that have been through the ringer in the UAA. And so they're going to know what it takes to come into Geisman tonight and come away with a victory.
Right, yeah. UChicago, their last game against #1 NYU, they lost by less than 10 points. So this is a team. They might not be ranked, but they can play those ranked teams really, really well. But you mentioned those battle-tested players, and one of them we're going to have our eyes on tonight is Sophia North. She is kind of like Nimsicott's the leader of CUC's offense. North is that for the Maroons.
Yeah, absolutely. And another player that was honorable mention all-conference last year in the UAA. She's a real leader for the Maroons offensively. But like I said, I got to imagine that Coach Martin has done her scouting as well, and they're going to have a plan for North. I'm interested to see what that plan is and how that shakes out. What are the adjustments made offensively by UChicago? We'll see if Kate Gross is part of that offensive contribution as well. 8.5 points averaging so far in the young season as well.
Yeah, Sophia North, 13.5 points for her to lead the team, and she's the only remaining all-UAA player on this Maroon squad from last season. And Troy, another interesting tidbit about this game, despite their proximity to each other, first all-time meeting between these squads. So a little history going on here in Geisman Gymnasium tonight.
Yeah, it is a pretty incredible stat when you think about not that far from each other. Both have Chicago in the name, right? But yet this is the first meeting in women's collegiate basketball.
Of course. And for Concordia University Chicago, looking for a big win tonight against a tough UChicago team. Troy, what do they need to do tonight? What do the Cougars need to do to come away with that W?
Yeah, I'm going to look to rebounding tonight, Peter. The Cougars 4th in the conference so far in the young season in offensive rebounds, but UChicago's second in their conference in defensive rebounds. And so both of those are going to take place on the same end of the court, offensively for the Cougars and defensively for the Maroons. So if that battle battle is going to, lead towards the Cougars, and maybe that's how Allie McGregor is able to contribute this evening. The Cougars are going to need that stat in particular to be able to pull away a win.
Right, yeah, those second chance opportunities can lead to a struggling offense kind of getting that little kick in the rear end they may need, but it's going to be tough against the UChicago team. For me, it's all about the turnover battle. CUC allowed 33 points off of turnovers against Anderson. UChicago, they forced 22 turnovers against Middlebury College, so this is a UChicago team. They can force turnovers versus a CUC team who struggles to keep teams off the board when they turn over the ball, so that's going to be an interesting battle here in the midcourt today for UChicago and CUC, but we're going to get tip-off between these two Chicago-based teams in just under 12 minutes now. Cougars taking on the Maroons in the 2023-24 women's basketball home opener. Troy and I will be on the call with you all evening. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Cougars Sports Network.
Cougar basketball is on the air. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Cougar Sports Network. We're here in Geisman Gymnasium as we get set for CUC's 2024-25 home opener for the women's basketball team. They taken on the Maroons of University of Chicago. Peter Borkowski, Troy Prattley here on the Cougar Sports Network, and let's go through the starting lineups one more time for everybody watching at home. For the Maroons of the University of Chicago, it is number 5, Casey Samuda, number 21, Kate Gross, number 23, Sophia North, number 24, Bella Alfaro, and number 33, Caroline Workman. Assistant coaches for U Chicago are Diamond Pikalik, Dolly Union, and Janie Gonzalez. Head coach of the Maroons is Michelle Gardner-Bielik. In her first season at the helm for CUC, they're throwing out number 2, Sydney Nimsicott, number 4, Michaela Ellis, number 11, Grace King, number 30, Allison McGregor, number 55, Sydney Mitchell. Assistant coaches for CUC, Jaylene Wade, Anthony Johnson, Jim Russo, and Sydney Lloyd. And head coach of the Cougars in her 7th season at the helm is Coach Lauren Martin. So the Maroons starting here on offense after winning the tip about 25 seconds into the game. And now we get our first whistle, and that'll be a travel called on Samuda, sophomore out of Glen Head, New York. Ball going the other way.
That was really good pressure there from CUC defensively. It was Grace King getting her hand in the passing lane 2 times and then ultimately being able to force a travel and a turnover there on the first possession.
Sydney Mitchell now goes to work on the offensive end of the court. Nimsicott finds Grace King on the perimeter. Screen from Allie McGregor. King flips it over her head to McGregor. McGregor in the post, tries a falling shot, and that's going to be eaten up by Samuda.
She didn't have her full balance on that one. You would like to see her kind of go up strong through the arms, but instead kind of fade away there, and you saw that shot get blocked.
U Chicago's second offensive possession. Ball put up, no good. Rebound by Michaela Ellis. And Michaela Ellis, Troy, the all-conference level players. Allie McGregor hard to the basket, no good. Now a foul on CUC. But that'll give us time to talk about Michaela Ellis, wearing number 4 in white, her first start of the year. She has been at CUC for a number of years now. She is a graduate student, and you kind of hope putting her back into this lineup for a longer period of time, that's going to help this offense get a little jump start.
Yeah, she's obviously the most experienced player on this CUC roster. She's played a lot of ball. And you kind of need that veteran presence when you've got a young team, right? You're starting 2 freshmen here in their first starts in Geisman. And so the veteran presence of, Mitchell McGregor and Michaela Ellis here tonight hopefully can help gel the rest of the CUC squad really on the offensive end.
Ball put up, but a foul will be called. I believe this will go on to Sydney Mitchell. It will. Number 55 in white tagged with the no-no. And that was just a case of mismatching sizes there. Mitchell for CUC staying at 5'2", while Samuda at the line 6'1". Not a whole lot that Mitchell could do guarding that taller player.
Yeah, it's just CUC is going to have to communicate. The size matchups are not too bad. Pretty even on the floor right now, but like you said, it's all about the specific one-on-one matchup, and when you get caught, you get in trouble, and you just really got to communicate to get back as soon as possible.
Michaela Ellis handling. She drives into the restricted area, puts up a shot, kisses it off the glass. CUC first field goal of the day for either squad.
It's a really nice job of keeping her balance there through the contact, able to pull away and get a nice one off the glass for CUC's first points.
Corner 3 for U Chicago. That's no good. Rebound by Sydney Nimsicott. CUC playing solid defense through the first 2 minutes. U Chicago still hunting their first make from the field. Mitchell.
That's a good look from U Chicago. That's an open 3 on ball movement. You'll take that shot every day offensively for the Maroons.
Especially from the corner, highest percentage shot in all of basketball. See if CUC, part of me can up their lead, take a lead here. 3 from McGregor, top of the key, no good. Shot clock rang out. Maybe a desperation shot from Alan McGregor, who's usually not a three-point threat for CUC. Ball into the corner, and now there's a whistle. And I think they're going to say that ball touched part of the basket, I believe, maybe the back end of the board.
It's what the referee pointed to. He signaled as if it might have touched the back of the glass.
So
maybe the foam part that hangs under it, I'm not sure.
Might have. That foam part's a little mangled up there. Might be jutting out more so than the rest of the basket. But CUC, see if they could take advantage of the break. Here comes Nimsicott, drives to the rim, and she's blocked, but draws the foul. Bree Simpson, one of the first subs in the game, getting tagged with the shooting foul on Nimsicott. She has a chance to get on the board for the first time tonight. Nimsicott's first freebie is no good, in and out. And Troy, this is a CUC team. They struggled from the free throw line last year as Nimsicott makes it 1 for 2. They've been off to another troublesome start from the charity stripe this year, 55%. And, you know, shooting free throws, it's kind of like punting in football. You don't realize how important it is until you do not have it. And for CUC, they are leaving a lot of free points up on the board through these missed free throws.
It's going to be the second foul on Grace King there. You had the one down here under the basket on the rebound attempt, and then down here just kind of got called for having hands on there. So 2 fouls in the first 3 minutes for King, and she'll probably be down for the rest of the first half. That's a big blow for CUC defensively as she brings a lot of pressure.
3B for UChicago is no good. CUC with the rebound. Yeah, Grace King, despite being a freshman, she's been an integral part of this CUC team. 2 games, 2 starts for King, 22 and a half minutes per game. So she provides some size to this Cougars roster as well, staying at 5'8". But like Troy, like you said, she's going to have to take a rest on the bench now. Less than 10 seconds to go on the shot clock. Sydney Mitchell finds Michaela Ellis. Oh, jumper, able to give CUC a 3-point lead.
Yeah, it's just a strong two-man game there. You see UChicago's electing to, on the screen, kind of bump out and play the ball handler with both the post defender and the man-on defender, and that leaves the open lane if you can get it there through the hands.
Yeah, nice roll by Michaela Ellis to get to the rim, and now she grabs the rebound as well. CUC playing some tough defense as about halfway through this first quarter. UChicago still no field goals, only 2 points off of free throws. Allison McGregor now drives into the paint, tries a bunny hop, and she loses it on the way up. They're going to say out of bounds. Last touch by Maroons. As the Maroons taken out their 6'1" starter in Samuda, but they replace her with 6'2" Annabelle Spot, so not much of a break there for CUC. Mitchell to the top of the key, tries to feed it down low. No one is there. That looks like a bit of miscommunication on CUC's part.
Yeah, you had Ellis and McGregor occupying the same block down there on the offense. I think maybe Mitchell thought Ellis was coming to the near side block.
UChicago now drive, kick out to the corner. 3 is up and airballs it. Missed shot from Sophia North. As we mentioned her in the pregame show, 24 points against Middlebury in UChicago's last game. All UAA honorable mention last season, but you would not be able to tell by the looks of that 3-point attempt from her. As CUC trying to add on to their lead. Sydney Mitchell, she'll pump up a 3, hits off the back of the iron. A rebound collected by Workman.
So far for UChicago, I mean, shooting 0% from 3 and the field. So no field goals so far to start. 0 for 9 as there was the second turnover there. Another travel as we saw in the very first possession.
Yeah, it was a lead pass for Annabelle Spot. She collected it, just couldn't really get it under control before she was under the basket. Good pressure by Allison McGregor as well to be right on her back. CUC leaves it in the hands of Missouri Wingham now. Wingham, she's going to draw a foul. As they say, Chris Sanders, freshman on this UChicago team, gave a little elbow to the opposing number 0, Missouri Wingham. That'll give CUC possession on the baseline. Ellis, the inbounder. CUC scrambling. They got to find somebody. They find Allison McGregor all the way up. Wingham now clears some space, feeds it down low to Ellis in the post. Ellis, jumper, yes sir, liquid from Michaela Ellis. CUC up by 5 now.
One thing interesting from the Maroons, they've got only 10 players dressed. 8 of them have played here in the first 5 minutes, so a pretty consistent sub approach so far early for the Maroons.
If you look at the minute totals for the Maroons, they have 7 players as the Maroons make their first field goal of the day, and it's a 3-ball, so they're back within 2. But they have 7 players on their roster, averaging over 20 minutes per game through these first 4 contests. And obviously, that'll stabilize a bit as you move on. And head coach of the Maroons, Michelle Gardner-Bielik, she kind of finds the rotations she likes. But still, this is a Maroons team, Troy, that, like you said, they play a lot of their players, especially during this non-conference part of the schedule, which is kind of the time to do that. Alice inbounds it as she finds the freshman Kira Holiday not able to grab the basket. This ball now in the hand of Sanders. She feeds it over. Wide open 3, no good, as that ball is barely saved by UChicago, but CUC able to collect it.
Another thing to keep your eye on here, Peter, 6 fouls already, 3 for both teams. We'll see if that plays a factor. Obviously, we've seen a lot of rotations, and only Grace King has 2 so far, but some quick whistles as there's a 7th foul so far, so we've got more fouls than we've played minutes in this game, and if you keep that up for the rest of the game, we're not going to have any players left, Peter.
Another foul tagged on UChicago, this one to Alfaro, starter on this squad from Durham, North Carolina. Plenty of representation on this Maroon squad from all over the U.S. See Michigan, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, California, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. So Midwest, East Coast, West Coast. UChicago able to pull from everywhere. It's nice Euro step from Wingham. Doesn't go anywhere. Not able to get the touch off the glass. Good move to get there. Just couldn't finish it.
Yeah, just not quite long enough. Reaching, reverse. It looked like she may have got blocked by the rim there coming across.
CUC switches, and that's going to cause an offensive foul. Annabelle Spots gets tagged on the screen. A little too physical on it is the 6'2" freshman. And so CUC able to get possession of the ball back again, as UChicago, despite the pedigree they have coming into this game, coming into this season, I mean, they've looked very out of sorts so far in this game. Only 5 points up on the board, 1 field goal, and that was from three-point land.
Yeah, neither team shooting particularly well. I think if one of them could get going, they may run away with this in the next few minutes, but 13% from 3 for UChicago, and 13% from the field for UChicago and 30% from the field from CUC, but they're 0 for from deep, as you just mentioned. So rough start offensively.
Yeah, Chicago. CUC, all these Chicago names tripping me up here. CUC, as there's a nice turnover to Sydney Nimsicon after the bad miss from three-point land. She gets the steal, and good block there. Oh, my goodness. That was Kate Gross. Just took the life from Courtney Schneider. But again, a turnover on UChicago's part, and that's just a momentum killer. You get the big block on a big player from CUC, and now you just turn the ball right over. You're not going to get any momentum if you keep that up.
Third travel here in the first quarter.
Mitchell, she feeds Alice on the low post. Alice is going to have to retreat out to the perimeter. She finds Mitchell. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 1:50 on the game clock. Sydney Mitchell, she uses a screen from Schneider. Good switch by UChicago, as here's a feed over Wingham. Baseline drive, too strong on the finish. Wingham's had some nice moves to get to the rim, just not soft enough a touch to finish. Top of the key 3 here off the back of the iron. Rebound, and now a whistle And that's going to be another U Chicago turnover, this time a foul committed by Samuda. That'll be the 6th-team foul coming from U Chicago. CUC, they're sitting at 3.
And I would like offensively for CUC right now, they've got 3 players on the court right now.
As we get a stoppage here, I believe they're looking at the clock possibly.
It was the 6th foul.
Yeah.
Right now they're only showing 5.
More
But
bored.
the foul was on the defensive end.
So we're
Anyway.
going to have to talk this over.
Yeah. As I was saying while we've got the break, the Cougars have 3 players on the court right now that can play in the post and do play in the post. So I would like to see some sort of action between the 2 blocks, the free throw line, something with this rotation in the lane where Wiggum and Mitchell can kind of be on the outside facilitating that. But that's where CUC's going to get most of their offensive production if it doesn't come from the free throw line.
Right.
Here, obviously, already shooting with 1:12 to go in the first quarter. Struggling from the three-point line. That's what we've talked about going in. They've struggled already today from there. So use these bodies that they've got inside the lane and see if we can get some sort of action between 3 to produce offensively for CUC.
Yeah, we've seen at least one pick and roll work earlier with, I forget who was the ball handler. It was Mitchell, pardon me. It was Mitchell as the ball handler, and then Mikhail Ellis rolling to the rim, and that worked out really well. Mikhail Ellis, she might not be the tallest player out there. She stands at 5'8", but she is a great mid-range killer. Kind of that old-fashioned game. She gets to her spot, she hits that jumper, so CUC can try to lean on her a little bit, especially since she's back in the lineup full-time now after only playing 10 minutes so far this season coming into tonight. Ellis has it at the top of the key. As she's got an isolation. She's going to feed it to Mitchell. Less than 50 seconds to go. 16 seconds on the shot clock. Here's Missouri Wingham now.
And U Chicago's sitting in the zone here. This is just a 2-3 zone. CUC's got to move to the right there. A flash to the high post. And someone's got to drop down on the backside. They've got to complete this triangle to get the ball in the paint. Right now, we're not seeing any action inside, and that's where the money's going to be made in the 2-3 zone.
No, you could see McGregor and Schneider just down low while the other 3 players were just sitting above the perimeter. They weren't doing anything. Like you said, Troy, the way you beat a zone is through movement, is through cutting. You drag people out of zones, and that off-ball movement was just non-existent. CUC, they got to get the shot off Ellis. No good off the side of the rim. And a last possession here for U Chicago, as there is just barely less time on the game clock than the shot clock. See how much time they take up here. Workman looking for somebody to keep it out on the perimeter. 7 seconds to go. Ball out. Last touch by Wingham. As now the referee's having a conversation. You could see Kate Gross was having words with the referee. Maybe she believes she got fouled. No foul called. It'll just be a possession for U Chicago. The shot clock and game clock. As now referee having talks with our official scorer. Shot clock, game clock, perfectly even. Samuda to Workman. Workman over. Here's North. Last second shot. Oh, in and out. As Sophia North almost grabbed the last second buzzer beater. But unfortunately for U Chicago, they're going to head into the quarter break down by 4. But we're going to head down to the sideline now. A sideline report coming from our own Alan Mateo.
So throughout this first quarter, you're really able to see the Cougars really help up on defense. Coming into tonight's game, the Maroons were really struggling from the three-point line, and the Cougars have really tried to get them out the paint. They're trying to give them perimeter shots to take, and they're really struggling from there. Really clicking up in the paint and just really trying to make sure that it's just to give them tough looks, and so far it's working. Only 5 points for a team that made a Sweet 16 run last year. That's pretty impressive. So look for them to continue for that throughout the second quarter. Thank you.
Well, thanks to Alan Mateo for our sideline update. And if we look at some of the stats so far in this game, UChicago shooting 1 for 11 from the field, 1 for 7 from three-point land, 9% field goal percentage, 14% three-point percentage. CUC not faring too much better, 9 for 14 from the field, 21%, and 0 for 4 from beyond the arc. They are shooting 75% from the free throw line, while UChicago is a perfect 2 for 2.
I think, the big thing, we just got to address the elephant in the room here. The two players that we talked about going in, Gross and North, held scoreless in the first quarter. And if UChicago wants to come away with the victory, that's going to have to get solved pretty quickly.
Three-pointer from Michaela Ellis, no good, as here's a fight for the rebound. Workman comes away. Good effort by McGregor, but she's behind the play now. Three-pointer, North. Yes, it is good. Nothing but net, as you can see, Sophia North feels good after getting that three-pointer back that she missed at the end of the first quarter.
The reverse announcer's jinx is what that was, Peter. So you're welcome for all the Maroons fans out there.
Tuning in to the Cougar Sports Network home opener for women's basketball this season. Trying to break a 2-game losing streak to start out the year. Some pretty dreadful losses to Illinois College and Anderson. CUC has not scored more than 50 points in a game yet, as Nimsicott corner three. High arc. It's a good arc. Nothing but net from Sydney Nimsicott. CUC first tray of the night.
And just so simple for CUC offensively. They finally were able to penetrate the zone. The zone has to collapse. You get a good kick out to your best shooter, and she knocks down a corner three. They've got to figure out how to stay in the lane, whether that's through the pass or through the dribble and kick.
That is, that is the staple of modern-day basketball offenses. Of you drive in and you force the defense to collapse, and then you kick it out to the open shooter. Of course, for CUC, that means you have to start hitting your threes, which is not something they've been able to do, but that percentage, it can go up if you start getting those open looks, as they did there. Free throw is good from Bree Simpson. She has a chance to pull her team back within 2 with another make here.
And that's the thing, Peter. You're just talking about, struggling from the three-point line, and that's been true. But the difference is you can live with open shots that you miss. You're not going to make all the shots. There's going to be some games, some nights where things just don't go in, and that's basketball. At every level, men's and women's, it doesn't matter. There's going to be nights like that, right? But you can live with open shots. What frustrates you is when you're not getting those looks and or you're turning them over.
Shot here from Ellis, no good. CUC, they had a wide-open Missouri Wingham on the other wing, and they elected not to hit her. That's kind of what we're talking about. CUC trying to find those open looks, as that is a high bounce off the glass for Bree Simpson to fall. Maroons back within 1. Wingham now works on North. She goes north to south, but has to stop. She feeds Ellis. Ellis now going to work to McGregor down low. Nimsicott thought about a 3. She pulls it back. Now she'll start a drive. She tries to lay it up, and she converts. Good drive there from Sydney Nimsicott, as CUC ups their lead back to 3. Bree Simpson getting down to the low post. She has to get it out. Workman now wide open lane, and Missouri Wingham. No soup for you, says number 0. CUC playing some strong defense throughout the first 13 minutes of tonight's game. Ball out. Last touch by UChicago. And that'll bring in a couple subs. Wingham, after a good block, she'll check out for Sydney Mitchell, while a pair of Maroons, Kate Gross and Bella Alfaro, 2 starters, they re-enter the game, and now Abby Kulig checks in the game for CUC as well. That's another post-type player for CUC, Troy, that we've been looking at all night long. Instead, CUC playing Kulig and McGregor towards the top of the arc. Now they have Mitchell ball handling. McGregor top of the key, feeds McGregor low. McGregor one-on-one, but she gets swarmed and double-teamed. The ball's still loose, and Alfaro comes away. Here comes Sanders with some speed, finds a wide-open player, but it's going to be wiped off the board. Offensive foul. As Abby Kulig, able to take the charge, and that's going to force a timeout by the Maroons. Sanders with the charge. And it'll be a 30-second timeout for CUC. And Troy, they got some energy now. You had a 2-on-1 break stopped by a charge. Great job by Abby Kulig to plant her feet and be able to take it. Now's a chance to kind of build on this. Timeout, get your team figured out, send them back out there, see if they can build on this momentum.
Yeah, I would like offensively for CUC to maybe come out in a set play where you can kind of manipulate the zone with a few back screens, maybe overloading one portion of the court. You know, coming out of a timeout like that, you've got time to discuss it and on this offensive possession. So we'll see if they can just run a set play. I mean, I imagine that at some point throughout preseason and even preparing for a game like this, facing a zone defense, that there is some sort of offensive scheme or set plays to kind of beat the zone. And off of a timeout like that, this is a good spot to maybe see one of those.
We'll see what CUC runs as Kulig and McGregor exchange places, and now Ellis is down in the paint. Some off-ball movement. McGregor gets it. She puts it up, and a couple bounces. It falls. And McGregor on the board.
Just like that, coming out of the timeout for the Maroons, they were in man defense. So forget everything I just said about coming out and beating the zone because they came out in man.
Well, and that's a good defensive strategy from the Maroons because, like, as we saw with yourself, Troy, CUC was planning to beat the zone and said they have to beat the man defense, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the Maroons. Just good off-ball movement. As now here's good ball handling from Bree Simpson. The team's trading blows now after a very sluggish start on the offensive end for both squads. Ellis uses the McGregor screen. Now here's Kulig.
Back in zone now.
Kulig sets a screen for Mitchell. As now Ellis for Nimsakan. Nimsakan 6 points on the night. Tries a baseline drive, and that's going to be a blocking foul on Sanders. On Simpson, pardon me. Workman will check in for Simpson while Grace King checks in for Allie McGregor.
So keep an eye on that. Remember, King went out just 3 minutes into the game with 2 fouls. So now re-entering here in the second quarter, she's got a pair of fouls on her.
And here's an offensive foul as ended up on the ground was Kate Gross. I'm going to say Michaela Ellis with a push. So CUC wiping that possession off the board. Chicago, one possession game. They can tie it up as Grace King, some aggressive defense. She's got to be careful. Wide open three for North, and she doesn't hit it. That is a break for CUC. North was all by herself at the top of the key.
But again, one of those things that, Chicago, they're going to take that shot all day long. That's their best player. She's wide open at the top. That's what you can't have for both teams so far. That's the third turnover for CUC. Back-to-back possessions, but 7 for Chicago still. And they've been better as of late, but a really rough start with those turnovers. And when you can create open shots, you'll take that all day.
Here's a long 2 and a good 2 from Kate Gross, hitting it over Abby Kulig. As Chicago's really starting to settle in here. CUC hanging on to that 1-point lead.
A lot of people say that's the worst shot in basketball, the long 2, the foot on the line 2, but nothing's a bad shot when it goes in.
Nimsakan to King. King, little head fake, and now Nimsakan a 3. No good. Rebound easily collected there by Kate Gross. Chicago, they can take the lead here. And a foul on Sydney Mitchell. Mitchell, a very steal-happy type of player, very handsy, pesky style of defense. That time she gets a little too handsy. Commits the no-no as CUC trying to figure out who's on the court, who's off the court. Mitchell will check out while Destiny Cox makes her home debut of the season, a junior transfer to CUC. Nice cut there by Workman, but she has to swing it out to a fan in the crowd. Didn't realize that they were able to shoot the ball. I don't think Workman realized that either. Dishes out an errant pass, and CUC will get going the other way.
Yeah, definitely miscommunication there by whoever was down in the wing. Maybe Workman thought she was going to head to the corner, but in fact she stayed at the top of the wing there.
Well, here's another turnover from CUC. Workman, and that's a foul, offensive foul on not Workman, it's Spots. She commits the charge, CUC. I don't know if they've been working on their charging drills or what so far this week, but that is a second charge that they've been able to draw in this quarter.
Yeah, that one's a tough call for the Maroons. First one I thought was for sure a charge. That one thought she was moving there a little bit.
First one, she ran through Abby Kulig. That second one was a little more ticky-tacky, but CUC's not going to complain, trying to hold on to this 1-point lead, possibly extend it. Wingham finds Nimsicott. Back to Wingham. Back to Nimsicott. A little Jackie Moon ball here. Back to Wingham now. And she bounce passes to McGregor. McGregor gets tied up. That'll be jump ball. And possession will go the way of UChicago. Bringing it up is Alfaro. The North Carolina native goes to work on Destiny Cox, and a whistle and arm up from the baseline ref. That'll be a foul on Cox on the drive. And that means 2 shots coming up here for Alfaro.
And for CUC, they're about 3 minutes of game time without a point here, as well as 4 turnovers in that same time span. So, they've gone 3 minutes of game time without being able to extend the lead, and UChicago's climbed right back into this one.
First shot is good for Alfaro. Second shot also good, and UChicago, since a point they're leading 2-0, they take their first lead of the night. And quite a while. Here is Kira Holiday for Sydney Nimsicott. Back to Holiday. Swings it over to Cox. Cox waiting, starts a little drive, goes to work on Workman. Ellis now, jumper. Yes, sir. Michaela Ellis is money from that area in the court as she gives CUC the lead back. North, hard swing, another pass. That could have been a shot there for Gross. She elected to keep it moving. Now North gets all tangled up and is going to draw a foul.
Yeah, Peter, I'm not sure either team's going to have any players left. Maybe before halftime. This is, we don't get fined for talking about refs, so I think it's okay here. But a ticky-tack game so far. They've called pretty much every time a defender gets hands on anybody.
They've been call happy.
They have not let them play here tonight.
Like you said, Troy, not that what they're calling is wrong necessarily, not that it's non-existent, but it is some of those plays that other referees might let the girls play on. So this ref crew a little bit more eyes on, a little bit more involved in that aspect, as 8 team fouls in this quarter.
I think we've reached 20 so far in the game, and UChicago's played 8.
Well, 3 ball for Missouri Wingham, and that gives CUC another lead, as these two teams have really picked up the offensive production in this second quarter. As North, nice step back, and it's going to be no good, and it's going to be an illegal step back travel called on North. Yeah, personal fouls so far in the game. UChicago sitting at 9, CUC sitting at 8, so 17 total fouls, so 20 a good guess. As here comes Nimsicott. She gets blocked. It's a clean block, as wasn't emphatic, but Casey Samuda able to just get enough on it. And here's a weird angle shot. It's the back of the backboard. She gets the ball back now. Corner three, and that's no good. Samuda rebound. She puts it up. That's no good. Someone needs to make a shot here. They're going to kick it out and reset. Couple of close misses for UChicago. Here's Samuda. 10 seconds on the shot clock. Back to Samuda, working against Nimsicott. Can't get it to go, but draws a foul. Looking a little bit like the local Y basketball game. No one able to finish around the rim. But Samuda, that's kind of what you need to do, Troy. I mean, I like to say it on broadcast, but drawing fouls really is an art. It really is a talent. And Samuda, she sees these shots aren't falling. She goes to work one-on-one with a smaller player, Nimsicott. She's able to draw the foul and go up for two.
And UChicago's been much more effective when they've been able to get the ball into the paint. They're being really aggressive going towards the rim, and like you mentioned, if we're noticing it and the fans are noticing it, you know that the players and the coaches are noticing it. And if that's the coaching point, hey, they're gonna be pretty whistle happy tonight. So yeah, absolutely, let's drive right at the CUC defenders and get some of these fouls racking up.
Nimsicott got double teamed. CUC trying to find the open player. There's Holiday. Good rotation by UChicago as they're able to close everyone out, and now turnover by Wingham.
That's great. Great defensive effort there by the Maroons.
Yeah, Maroons sent the two-man on defense, and usually that spells trouble because somebody's open, but they're able to recover everywhere on the court. Good hustle from the Maroons. Nice move here, and that is not a nice shot as it misses the rim. CUC with the ball, 1:08 left to go in the second quarter. Michaela Ellis from Division Street, no good off the back of the iron. A long three from Ellis isn't able to fall. Here's Alfaro. One-on-one with Wingham. She dishes it for North. Inside feed to Samuda. Good matchup between her and McGregor. Here's another long three, this time from UChicago. Hits the rope at the top of the board, and that means it is automatically CUC ball that hits that rope.
So if you're CUC here, do you try and melt this down all the way till, about 13 seconds would be, right around on the game clock before you take a shot? Or, well,
I think
maybe.
Well, to answer your question, I know where you're going with that. I think you can go 2 for 1 here. You get a regular possession here. You give UChicago the ball back with the shot clock, and then you're bound to have at least one more possession, of course, unless you give up an offensive rebound, hits the rim, blah, blah, blah. But CUC has a chance to go 2 for 1 on possessions in these last 43 seconds. If they can end this possession in 10 seconds, they'd have another lengthy shot clock, but not a ton of urgency out of Missouri Wingham. Here's Ellis now. At this rate, UChicago will have the last shot, and they will now if they want it. Holiday swings it all the way over. Here's Ellis, bobbles it, able to collect it. Missouri Wingham, the top of the key, at the very edge of the Cougar head on the floor, and UChicago gets a travel called on Anaya Hinton-Henry. The whole bench yelled it as it was in front of the bench, and UChicago, 18 seconds on the game clock. They can milk this one down. Can tie it up with the 2, take the lead with the 3. Here's Samuda. Swings it over opposite wing. Alfaro. 3 ball is off the front of the iron. Hinton-Henry the rebound, and the clock rings out for the end of the first half. So 20 minutes gone in the 24-25 home opener for CUC, and we have an exciting one on our hands here between these two Chicago schools. CUC up by a pair, 21-19 is our score, as we are going to take about a 15-minute break here, and when we come back, CUC 20 minutes to go for their first win of the season, but UChicago right on their heels. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the Cougar Sports Network. Not done yet with the half. In fact, we're going to have a halftime interview coming up shortly here between Alan Mateo and assistant coach of CUC, Jim Russo, a member of the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame. So we are going to send it down to the court now for Alan Mateo and assistant coach of CUC, Jim Russo.
Thank you, guys. And I'm here with Coach Russo of the women's basketball team here. And, Coach, you guys have really stepped it up defensively tonight. You guys understood it was a big challenge, a big task with the U Chicago team. What was the message to the team during this week of practice?
Well, we talked in the last few days about energy. Energy and effort were going to be the key here. They're very well coached, and what they're going to run their good sets. We have to counteract that with energy and enthusiasm and box out. I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah, you guys sure have. And also, the emergence of Michaela Ellis for you guys, her first start tonight. I know she has been one of your best players for these past few years. Talk about what her emergence back for you guys has been.
Well, she brings experience and leadership, and not just her skill set, which is really dynamic for this group, but she settles them down and gives them the ability that, hey, we've got somebody that's been here before. Let's run through her, and we'll make it happen.
Well, Coach, I hope you guys keep it going here in the second half, and best of luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Well, and we look forward to the second half of Cougar basketball, so thank you.
That halftime interview with Coach Jim Russo. So we're going to take a break here now on the Cougar Sports Network, and we're back in roughly 12 minutes. We'll have second half action for you between the Cougars and the Maroons.
Hey, I'm Monica here at Concordia University Chicago, and we're here outside of Concordia Hall. Concordia Hall is the university's newest residence hall, right on the edge of campus, perfect for students who want to explore the nearby downtown of Oak Park and River Forest. The flexible suite-style living in fully furnished bedrooms lets students choose what works best for them. Every floor is complete with a community lounge and full common kitchen, with a kitchenette, microwave, sink, and refrigerator. The first floor offers the Victory Lounge, connecting to 2 additional residence halls, with no shortage of ways to relax. You're also right next to an open, outdoor plaza, better known as Victory Lane. So now we're here in Concordia Hall's suite style dorm room. And this is a really nice place to just hang out and chill. And since it's so big, there's plenty of room to spread out and do your homework and just relax. So now making our way into one of the bedrooms, there's plenty of space in this room for you and your roommate. A lot of times students will move the desks so that they've got their separate study space, but my roommate and I, we get along really well, so we can just work together here in the same space. Sometimes I like doing art as well, as you can see by the painting here. It's a 16 by 10 feet space, and most rooms on campus are 10 by 12 feet. So it's really nice to have a little extra space to work with here in Concordia Hall. So this hall is super close to the chapel and the Kennedy Community Center, which has the new Crossroads Dining Hall. So the location is super convenient. And I really love the city scene too. The location here is the closest on campus to the Oak Park River Forest downtown area, which has a ton of great stores and restaurants. Speaking of the city scene, I adore the view from this lounge because you can see the Chicago skyline right there. Concordia Hall at Concordia University, Chicago.
Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network as we get set for second half action between the Cougars of Concordia University of Chicago and the Maroons of the University of Chicago. Peter Borkowski here, Troy Pratley on the Cougar Sports Network, and Troy, a tale of two quarters really from these two teams. You look at the breakdown by quarter, CUC University of Chicago 9.1% shooting percentage in the first quarter. That went up to 33 in the second quarter, over tripled. CUC 21% from the field in the first quarter. They shot up to 45% in the second quarter. They also hit their first 2 threes of the game in the second quarter after going 0 in the first 10 minutes. And you could just tell as the game's gone on, these offenses have started to kind of figure it out a little bit. And you have to think if that trend continues, it's going to favor Chicago by the time we get to the end of the game.
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of the fact teams settling in. It's a Friday night. Both teams had classes today, and for CUC, it's their first home game in front of the home crowd, and so there's some jitters there. Obviously, Chicago had a lot of turnovers earlier to start, and then you obviously talked about the field goal percentage as well. But I think we've seen a much calmer two teams. But I think Chicago had the better offensive approach in the second quarter, really attacking the rim, taking advantage of the matchups on defensively from the Cougars, and also using the refs to the advantage of their play style as well. So we'll see how that progresses offensively for both teams. Chicago is going to get the ball here coming out of the half.
Yeah, turnovers, we mentioned them at the top. That could have been a negative for CUC after they allowed 33 points off of TOs against Anderson their last time out. So far tonight, Chicago's committed 10 turnovers. CUC 8 points off turnovers is 5-5. So that has not really been a big advantage or disadvantage for either of these two squads. But what has been a notable storyline so far are the fouls, as CUC commits one early here. Team fouls coming into the half were 9 apiece. And now for Grace King, she's sitting at 3 as she's going to get checked out, which means she's officially in foul watch. And that is a major contributor to the CUC squad, who's going to be left on the bench again for a little bit to protect her in the foul category.
Yeah, that's another tough call. It looked like, King was pretty vertical there, and it was the Maroon offensive player that engaged in the contact. And that's a tough way to get your third foul 13 seconds into the second half. And first half, you barely played as well because you got 2 in the first 3 minutes of the game.
Allie McGregor on the perimeter, handoff to Missouri Wingham. For Nimsicott now. Goes ISO with North. Avoids the screen set by McGregor. Here's McGregor now for Michaela Ellis, top of the key. Less than 10 to go on the shot clock. A little movement inside for CUC. Missouri Wingham tries to float it up, and it goes nowhere as North able to collect the miss.
Not sure if she was going for a glass there or just going for the net, but miscalculated both of them for sure.
And Samuda, and that'll be a jump ball possession going CUC's way. Nice play there by Sydney Mitchell against the much taller Samuda. Mitchell brings up the ball. Advance pass to McGregor at the free throw line. Turns around, finds Nimsicott in the wing. Now to Wingham in the other wing. Negates the screen from McGregor, and nice finger roll off the glass. Missouri Wingham. Troy, she's been doing it all night. She's been getting to the rim. It's just been about finding that finishing touch. She gets one there. She now has 7 points on the night.
Yeah, I imagine that the Maroons are going to head back to the 2-3 zone here pretty quickly, especially if they're going to continue to struggle on the offensive end. It's just going to allow them to stay in the game by slowing the pace of the game, making CUC earn their baskets, and keeping them around the three-point arc is really what we saw the approach from Concordia be in the first half, and that's going to be a way to slow the pace down if the Maroons are going to struggle like they are right now.
Another miss from 3 for the Maroons. That was from Caroline Workman, as the Maroons shooting 2 for 13 from beyond the arc. Here's a three for Nimsicott. She's got that high arced shot, but it is working out for her. She hits another three. That is Nimsicott's second of the night. She's 2 for 4 from beyond the arc. North into the corner for Workman. She starts a drive, spin move off the glass as she pulled out the spin cycle on Michaela Ellis. Nice move there by 33 in maroon.
And just the confidence to pull that off and go up with the left hand. You don't see that very often. Being able to go up with the left hand and really just a nice touch off the glass in the box.
Good steal there. Now a blocked out of bounds by Alfaro, and so CUC will retain possession. But that was just a great move by Workman, as well as in how she set up Ellis. She started to go over the top. Ellis had to step up to avoid her really going all over the top of over Ellis. And then when Ellis was positioned high enough, Workman just spun back around, slid under her. So that was just great work by Workman to position Ellis, then execute the spin maneuver. And now Michaela Ellis gets some help from the rim. Able to get that to fall as CUC up by 6 now. As this is their biggest lead of the night. They previously led by 5, 4:29 to go in the first quarter. Up by 6 now, 7:04 to go in the third.
Yeah, we talked about that at halftime a little bit. Just CUC's best offense being Michaela Ellis ISO. And she had a few nice ones on the left side of your screen down there in the paint. And that's just, off the dribble, creating a little room for herself and being able to get nice shooter's touch to bounce twice off the rim and find the bottom of the net. Oh, a nice play there. Wow.
Good off-ball movement by Samuda to lose the defense. She was wide open down low. That is a defensive breakdown for CUC.
And it was just a nice drawn-up play it was baseline out of bounds. It was a bob, as it's called, right? And you set the back pick, never saw her coming, and there she is wide open in the paint.
And Sydney Nimsicott, she is knifing through the defense. She's fired up as well. Team back up by 6.
And that's the kind of enthusiasm that the Cougars are going to need. The Maroons responded nicely with a play, but then the Cougars come down and make a play of their own. And that's the kind of back-and-forth basketball we were hoping to see tonight. As there's a travel and going to be another turnover.
Samuda grabs her passport, commits to travel, and CUC now has a chance to up their biggest lead of the night. 30-24 our score as Mitchell will bring it up. CUC playing a slower pace here. Mitchell feeds Ellis. Ellis screen from McGregor. Gets to the elbow, and she loses it. Smothered by Samuda. Good defense by Samuda. That is Michaela Ellis' spot. His bounce pass inside. Knocked around. Last touch by Samuda. And CUC, some tough defense down low, courtesy of Allie McGregor.
And I don't think we can really, overstate the impressive defensive outing it's been for CUC, and I understand that some of that is missed shots by the Maroons that maybe they make a little bit more than they are right now, but they came into this game averaging 64.5 points, and they're at 24 right now. So really nowhere near their season average through 4 games so far, and maybe it's a combination of the defensive pressure by CUC, as we've seen, creating almost double-digit turnovers now, but also certainly contributing to the low field goal percentage.
3-ball, Nimsicott, no good. Rebound just out of reach of McGregor as it lands in the hands of Simpson. She gives it off to Sanders to handle. We are approaching the 5-minute mark of this third quarter. Ball up top now for North. She's been relatively quiet, especially compared to her 24-point outburst last game against Middlebury. That miss bounces around before landing in the grasp of McGregor. Mitchell receives instruction from Coach Martin on the sideline. Coach Martin in her 7th year as head coach of CUC. Trying to return to the postseason for the first time in a couple years. Also trying to pick up her first win of the season here. Wingham, she's got 6 seconds. Bunny hop, puts it up and off the glass, no good. Simpson slows it down, lets Sanders handles it. Now Workman at the top. Opposite wing, it is North, and she feeds that to Michaela Ellis. Wrong jersey, however. CUC grabs another turnover. Mitchell getting her players in order, starts at the wing. Finds McGregor on the other wing, now Nimsicott. Screen from McGregor. Nimsicott starts her drive, puts it up, and one! Oh, offensive foul, they're going to say. Wait, hang on. Offensive foul is called. It's Sydney Nimsicott a little too hard to the rim. As a range of emotions, everyone trying to figure out what the call was. It's an offensive foul on Nimsicott, so the ball will head the other way now.
And that's a foul you can live with, right? I mean, playing hard, maybe a little bit too fast, but other than maybe jump stopping and trying the floater there, I mean, you're going hard to the rim, and that's just a good defensive play. You know, if you're Coach Martin, that's just one you live with.
Yeah, Nimsicott at 11 points. That's the career high for Nimsicott in her third game as she starts another hard drive off the glass, gets the bank as she makes her withdrawal, and CUC back up by 6. Good response here from the Cougs.
And that's what you love to see out of the freshman. The confidence never wavered. You get the offensive foul call on you last time, and the very next possession you go right back at it and say, hey, stop me again. I bet you won't.
Nimsicott feeds McGregor. That ball is knocked away, but she recollects it. Now Wingham for Nimsicott. Puts up a 3. Give me the sriracha sauce. Sydney Nimsicott hits her third 3 of the game. She's on a heater right now. CUC up by 6 again.
Right now, the freshman's kind of putting this team on the back. You've seen a good defensive effort here in the third quarter by the Cougars and a good individual offensive effort.
And a push is called here on Courtney Schneider against Spots. A little interesting call. Schneider might have just bumped her a little too much with the body. She had her hands up for defensive purposes. Either way, she gets tagged with it. That puts UChicago in the bonus. And something, even though this game's it's not getting on hand, but it's starting to lean more in favor of CUC as Spots misses her first shot. Something UChicago has improved on is the fouls. They've committed 0 fouls so far in this third quarter, about 7 minutes in. 7.5 minutes in, should say. Meanwhile, CUC, they're sitting at 5, but it doesn't matter. Spots not able to hit either free throw. That's going to hurt as CUC can build on their biggest lead of the night. Here's Nimsicott. She's been feeling it. Finds her fellow freshman in Schneider. Kira Holiday loses it, able to recollect. Starts a drive, kicks it out. Allie McGregor, she'll put up a 3, and that's off the front of the iron. Alfaro goes to work on Nimsicott. Elects to pass it over to Sanders. Here's Gross. Over to the corner. Alfaro, stutter step, now starts the baseline drive, opposite corner. Good ball movement by the Maroons. And now here's a tough drive ball, batted away by Kira Holiday. Good defense by CUC to hang in there.
They seem to be playing much more energized here in the second half. I don't know if that's just because the offensive side has been leading to better defense and vice versa, or if, they got a pretty good halftime speech. Maybe both.
They've been flying around in this second half so far. Up top for Gross. She's got 3 seconds. She's got to make something happen. Workman, she's got to put it up. She lost the shot clock. Workman has the awareness slider turned down to 0. She does not know what's on the shot clock, and she turns it over because of it.
That's tough. She got the ball with like 3 seconds left, but very clearly a right-handed dominant player chose to go left, and it's hard when you're dribbling left to pull up and go back to the right. As you've got less than 3 seconds on the clock. Maybe trying to go right off the dribble is a lot easier than going left off the dribble when you're trying to pull up like that.
2 shots coming up here for Sydney Nimsicott. See if she could add on to her 16 points. She does. There's 17 now for the freshman. 6 for 9 from the field, 3 for 6 from three-point land, and now 2 for 3 from the charity stripe. as she'll now sit at 2 for 4 after that miss. CUC does take their biggest lead of the night now at 7. Here comes Alfaro. 80 seconds remain in the third. Ball for Gross, starts a drive. He's going to try and turn, pivots, and good touch off the glass from Kate Gross. Pivoted all the way around. And she brings her team back within 5.
Now, something interesting from the Cougars here, I'm just starting to notice now. A couple players that we haven't seen tonight. Emma Nickerson has averaged almost 32 minutes. 32 minutes so far in the season, 16 averaging in each game. And then same with Lindley Southern at 8 minutes a game. Those are both sophomores. And Southern started a lot of games for CUC last year. And Nickerson's played a lot so far early in this year. But we haven't seen either of those players check in for CUC. So we'll see if maybe that continues or if we might see him in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, Coach Lauren Martin going with a different look here in this home opener, which, I mean, when you struggle as much as they have through their first 2 games, that should not be a surprise. Meanwhile, on the court, 1 second separating the shot clock and the game clock. Michaela Ellis with the ball in her hands, going to work through the whole defense, gets past everybody and leaves the shot just short. Ball out, last touch by McGregor. UChicago has 4.4 seconds to make something happen. Great drive by Michaela Ellis. She left 4 players behind her, just couldn't finish over the last defender standing. And UChicago, they got a chance to end the quarter on a high note, as here is North. She's going to have to take a long shot, loses it. She has to get it up. She does, and she probably comes closer to hitting it than she had any right to, but she still misses. So because of it, a excellent quarter coming out of CUC's side. They hold on to a 5-point advantage as we head into the final 10 minutes of play. Before we get there, though, we're going to send it down to Alan Mateo on the sideline for another sideline report.
Thank you, Peter. Well, you see here in the third quarter that the Cougars were really able to go on a bit of a run offensively. Really seemed like they're really getting comfortable now. And they're still able to maintain that high energy they really maintained throughout the first 2 quarters of this game. Now going into the fourth quarter with a chance to be able to knock off a team who is undefeated so far this season, this would be a huge momentum boost for the rest of their season. So look for them to maintain that throughout this fourth quarter and hopefully pull out with a W. Thank you, guys, and back to you.
Thanks to Alan Mateo, our sideline reporter, for another great report from right in front of the CUC. We'll call it the students section. It's not officially titled that, but that's where most students set up. And before we get into the final 10 minutes of action, I do actually have a fun fact about the University of Chicago. If you are an NFL fan, you probably recognize the C that University of Chicago wears, very similar to the now secondary logo of the Chicago Bears. But, Troy, can you tell me which one came first, the UChicago C or the Chicago Bears C?
Well, considering that, UChicago is one of the founders of collegiate football, and, the national championship trophy is named after Alonzo Stagg. It's called the Stagg Bowl. I think the answer to the trivia question is, in fact, the UChicago C came first.
It is the UChicago C, as they adopted the Wishbone C, they call it, in 1898. Their website reads, the emblem has been adopted and modified by a plethora of other schools and professional sports teams, including the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Reds. Should also note that the Bears were not originally founded in Chicago. They were founded down in Decatur, so I'm not that much of a history aficionado to know how long the Chicago Bears C has been in use, but obviously not nearly as long as the UChicago C. But the UChicago basketball team, they're going to need a big fourth quarter here, down by 5 with less than 10 minutes to play now, 36-31. CUC looking to pick up their first win of the year in their first home game of the year, as Nimsicott finds Kira Holiday on the wing. Screen from McGregor now, from Ellis, pardon me, now a handoff. Nimsicott, she's getting double teamed. She's earned that treatment from the Maroons after a great third quarter. Here is Mitchell. Mitchell bounce pass, baseline jumper for Schneider, almost falls. Bounces out, however.
And still, so far, North has got 3 points. She's 1 for 7 from the field. And, wearing 23 in Maroon, if, she's going to have to help out this Maroons offense that's really been struggling. And she's been the go-to player. We talked about her in the pregame show and really kind of throughout the day, really just struggling. 1 for 3 right now, only those 3 points.
Michaela Ellis gets swarmed and draws the foul. Chicago. Again, they had, in the first half, a total of 14 fouls. No, pardon me. They have 10 fouls as of now. In the first half, they had 10. So they went that whole third quarter without committing any personal fouls. However, they get caught with one early here. As good drive, and now Kira Holiday palms up in the air. She's not sure what she was called on. Drawing the foul is Kate Gross. Kate Gross, the leading scorer for Chicago right now with 7 points, 3 for 10 from the field, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, as Chicago has really struggled from there. 18%, 18.8 to be precise from beyond the arc. Coming into the season, they're shooting the 3 ball at a 30% clip, so a very much an underperforming game from Chicago. Here's another 3 attempt, and that rings out as this ball is going to be knocked out. Everyone pointing at each other, and they're going to say Chicago touched it last. 8:17 to play here in regulation. 36-31 for CUC's favor. Mitchell, Holiday now uses the Ellis screen. McGregor finds Mitchell. He uses the McGregor screen. She swings it all the way over, opposite wing for Nimsicott. Nimsicott starts to go down to the post. She retreats. Here's Ellis now. 6 seconds on the shot clock. She's got to get something off. She tries to work through the double team. She's got to put it up. She does off the top of the glass. And no good. She wants a foul. She's not going to get one. Simpson to North. And now Alfaro with 3. And that looked good from here. Not enough on it. As everyone fighting for the ball, it's still on the ground. And now here's a pile of bodies. And they're going to say Chicago ball.
Yeah, kickball was actually the call there, so not a jump. So it's not going to change the possession. It was a kickball on the ground. There was the call. Looks like on Allie McGregor.
5-point lead. CUC's clinging on to. Samuda for Gross for Simpson. Samuda calling for it. Instead, it's going to be a 3 from Alfaro off the back of the iron. She is ice cold from beyond the arc. As here is a foul.
And again, those are the types of looks. That was 2 good looks from 3 by Alfaro there in that possession. And what else can you ask for? It's just been an unlucky night. They just can't get the shots to fall tonight.
No, not able to hit the side of a barn. Shooting 15% from 3, 27% from the field. As they only have 2 players who have made a pair of field goals in this game. Gross has 3, while Bree Simpson has 2. As Mitchell, a mid-range jumper, gets it to go. CUC up by 7 now.
And I got to tell you, just based on the feel, 7 points almost feels insurmountable at this point. And that is weird to say, but like 7 points, man, it's just been the way this game has gone. To see you, or Chicago just can't really buy a bucket right now.
Yeah, I mean,
down by 7. It's a tough spot to be with 6 to go.
You kind of keep feeling like Chicago is going to pull it together at some point just because of how talented they are and how good they've been this season so far. And it just, that shoe hasn't dropped yet. They haven't started to pull themselves together, start shooting the ball well. As we saw with those pair of Alfaro shots as she checks back into the game now. they're getting wide open looks. They're shooting 15% from beyond the arc, 3 for 20. So, like you said, Troy, they're getting those looks, but it might just be one of those nights for the Maroons where, hey, nothing's falling.
And they came into this game shooting the three ball at 30.4%. So, that's 3 out of every 10.
As Holiday loses her defender, she elects to kick it out, and Michaela Ellis hits the three, sharing is carrying as CUC now a 10-point lead. If you thought 7 was insurmountable, 10 points feels like a eternity, and it will be a full timeout here for UChicago. So we're going to take a break as well on the Cougar Sports Network. 41-31 is your score in favor of CUC as we have 6:13 left to go here in regulation. Welcome back to the Cougar Sports Network. CUC women's basketball on top of UChicago, 41-31. Pete Burkowski, Troy Prattley with you on the Cougar Sports Network, and we do have an update from down in Tejas where CUC men's basketball wins on a buzzer-beating 3 by Joel Watts from his own end of the court. It was a 3-quarter length shot to win the game in overtime for men's basketball, as they're playing a couple games down in Texas tonight and tomorrow. So an exciting way to start off your Texas trip, your CUC men's basketball.
103-100.
Yeah, high-scoring game, even if even with the overtime period. That is still a high-scoring game by college standards. As CUC men's basketball wins their second game in a row. Meanwhile, women's basketball, they're trying to pick up their first win. They're 5:30 away from doing it. Tough shot from Michaela Ellis, misses everything. And UChicago, they kind of got to get it. They got to get it going now. Down by 10. This has been a stagnant night for their offense. Here is North, corner 3, and that's no good. That has been the story of the game, is the 3-ball. Despite how many open looks they are getting, that 3-ball just is not falling for UChicago. They're shooting 14% from beyond the arc right now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before the break, right? Coming into this game averaging 30.4, so 3 of 10, and right now they're 3 of 21. So, they're shooting less than half of what they have been through 4 games, and you don't stop shooting them. I mean, they're good looks, right? That's how you climb back into the game. You take good shots, and you hope you make them. So it's not a confidence issue, and good for the Maroons, right? They're not shying away from this at all. They're just going to keep firing these out, and they're good looks, and if they fall, they fall. If not, then that's going to be the story.
Samuda can't get the shot put to fall, as there's a Maroon down on the ground, helped up by all white jerseys, as that was North on the ground. 3 CUC players went to help pick her up, as CUC is 4:20 away now from their first victory of the season. Here is Mitchell. Kayla Ellis for Nimsicott. She's got 17 points to lead all players. Kira Holiday now. Holiday works herself to the top of the key. She kicks it out now for Ellis. 6 seconds left on the shot clock. Here's Sydney Nimsicott, a last-second shot, and McGregor got the miss and put it up, but she ends up committing a foul on it. So it'll be Maroon ball. They got to get something on this possession. 3:48 to go. You have not scored in what's felt like a lengthy chunk of time, especially when you're down by 10. You got to get something going here. Here comes a three from Alfaro. That can't fall either. Rebound by Spod. She works, and now kicks it out. There's another three, and that can't fall either. That rim looks the size of a pinhole right now for UChicago as they are shooting let's just say a bad 13.6% from three-point land.
Yeah, offensively, that last possession, although for CUC it ended in kind of an air ball three and a tough look at a putback, you almost consider that a win, right? I mean, with the Maroons' inability to score offensively, they took the entire 30 seconds of the shot clock, ran the clock down below 4 minutes of game time, and if they can do that, they don't have to score another point almost. Mm-hmm. It's not exact math, but if you take the 30 seconds off of every time CUC possesses the ball in the next 3.5 minutes, maybe one or two more baskets wins the game.
It's a fight against the clock right now for UChicago. They need to get some turnovers too, because CUC, like you said, Troy, if they slow things down a lot, they take up 20 to 30 seconds every possession. Yeah, UChicago, it's just math. They're going to be out of time. They're going to be out of runway. So, and the other thing for UChicago is they're going to need some threes to get back in this one. Maybe if you start getting a lot of turnovers, you can go for the two. But at this point, if you're just settling for your regular paced possessions, you need three-pointers. And those have not been falling as this ball gets knocked around. High pressure here from UChicago as Michaela Ellis turns it over. Leading the charges north, outrushes everybody, puts it up, and draws the foul.
Yeah, I got to say, I almost said it out of the timeout that I wondered if they'd bring some pressure. I'm a little surprised they didn't before 3 minutes to go in the game, bringing the full court pressure. Not only does it, apply the pressure and force a turnover like we just saw, it extends the game because CUC can't just sit back and dribble out there 30 seconds on the clock. They are going to have to work for it, right? And you have to make them cross half court or you're going to get a violation.
Right.
And so I almost kind of want to see out of UChicago start fouling a little bit because they're only at 3 right now. If they get down to it, they're going to have to extend the game with an 8-point lead. So they're going to need to maybe rack up a couple more of these fouls here shortly.
And CUC shot 66% from the free throw line, which isn't bad, but it's also not automatic. So it's not guaranteed that CUC gets 2 points every time you foul. Here comes Michaela Ellis as CUC moves it to the wing now for Holiday. They got to get a shot off. They won't. Ball almost goes out of bounds, but it will be a Maroon ball anyways as the shot clock never reset. So now things do get a little interesting. Maroons down by 8. They hit a 3 here, which has been a tall task for a team shooting 13% from beyond the arc. They hit a 3, though. All of a sudden, you might be starting to sweat a little bit if you're CUC. Here is Norris. She'll try her hand at a 3, and there it is. Great shot from Norris. She comes up big when her team needs it. This is a 5-point game now. Ellis finds Mitchell. She's got to get over half. She finds Ellis again. Ellis taking up some time. Good pressure here from Gross. Good defense by Gross. And now whistle blows.
Not the worst thing, though, for UChicago.
Gross commits. That'll be her 4th foul, so that is a little worrisome. That one of your best scorers this year is at 7 points tonight. Now she's also at 4 fouls, so she's got to be careful. As CUC almost throws this one away, they do. Missouri Wingham cannot stay in bounds to collect the ball.
And now you start to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, UChicago has picked it up here in the last minute. They hit another shot here. It's officially dangerous as North puts one up. There's a foul. It's on Wingham. It's a push.
Be on the floor.
It'll be on the floor, so it'll just be possession, which UChicago is fine with because that was a missed shot. Alfaro will inbound it. Alfaro finds Samuda. Good ball movement. Pass inside to Samuda as she has to swing back to Gross. Gross gets Michaela Ellis up in the air. 3-ball is short, and that ball is going to roll out for a CUC possession. 89 seconds on the game clock.
I think that's one where I'd like to see Samuda go up with that. She had a decent look at it. But again, even drawing the contact, it's a chance to score without taking any time off the clock, right? So going hard to the rim, especially, and she's got the height advantage there, or at least pretty close to McGregor.
Yeah, she is taller than McGregor. Samuda 6'1", McGregor listed at 6 foot, maybe a little closer to 5'11". But you know, McGregor, despite her height, isn't always the best interior defender, so that could have been a favorable matchup for Samuda. Instead, UChicago gets a little greedy. They go for the 3-ball. CUC now, they have to protect this possession as UChicago is double-teaming the ball, and here's a foul on Simpson. She trips up Mitchell, who she's now down on the ground. Hard fall. She's back up. And for Simpson, that is personal foul number 5, which means she's got to go hit the locker room. First player we've seen foul out after what looked like a foul fest earlier in the match, especially during that first half. Mitchell hits the first free throw. That's a big one. In terms of other foul issues, Kate Gross sitting at 4. While CUC, they have a pair of players with 3, Grace King and Sydney Mitchell. And now it'll be a timeout as these two teams cooking up their game plan for the final 73 seconds of the match. CUC just needs to hold on here, while UChicago, they're gonna need some miracle work here in the last minute 13 if they want to pull away with this one.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough task now. You were feeling decent when you were down 5 with about 2 minutes to go.
And had possession,
yeah,
too.
But unable to put any points in from there, and then now you're at the point where you're just trying to foul and create an early turnover, and if you don't get the early turnover, then you foul and hope that CUC misses the free throws. So for CUC, it's like you can't sacrifice defensively, but at the same time, you want to have your best free throw shooters on the court because you know that's kind of all that UChicago has left in terms of ways to climb back in this. So
you're in the bonus now, too.
Right, so Mitchell got the first of her 2 shots, so we'll see the second one here, but, 6 points. Ugh.
And it's going to stay at 6 points, so 2-possession game here for UChicago to tie it up. As Alfaro finds North, she chucks up a 3. That is no good. Whistle, and that ball reached too high up on the backboard, so it'll be an automatic CUC possession. 61 seconds to go. That is 2 full shot clocks plus 1 second. CUC's got to inbound it, though, something that UChicago is trying to prevent, as all 5 players were on the same side of the court for a second. Samuda and North retreat now. They are now tripling the ball. As here's an inside look to McGregor, and that might be the dagger for CUC. It's an 8-point lead now. As we get a stoppage. You got to be annoyed by that if you're UChicago, as CUC's defense has a chance to get set now with the stoppage.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, haven't seen anything, as UChicago will maintain possession. Might have been something with the clock, maybe. Either way, they got to get some points on the board quick here. Here's Alfaro. She's driving. You don't really have much time for a drive. CUC lets her take the 2, but that's going to be a foul on the way up as well. That is not what you want to do if you're CUC. You're okay giving up the 2 at this point in the game, but you don't want to give a possible 3-point play here up.
I like the move, though, going right to the rim because now it's a 2-possession game, right? Assuming CUC doesn't make any free throws, it's a 2-possession game. So you can get a timeout here again. But so you're able to get the lead down to 6 with the basket, which is obviously 2 3-pointers to take it to overtime. The house money is the free throw on top of that to make it a 5-point game. So you allow yourself wiggle room for basically 1 free throw to be made. If CUC makes 2 free throws in the next however many times they get fouled here, the game is pretty much over. If they make 1 or less, or fewer, I suppose, then the Maroons have a chance to take this to overtime.
Yeah, 30 seconds on the shot clock, 39 seconds on the game clock. So CUC, they can wind this down if they are able to hold on to it. That's really the question, just because of how tough a defense the Maroons have been, how much pressure, I should say, the Maroons have been playing here lately. They can hold on to it for the majority of the shot clock. They can wind this down to single digits on the game clock, and that's just not going to leave enough time for the Maroons to really do anything. So, yeah, we're going to have to see what the Maroons do fouling-wise. They foul early here. I mean, CUC so far, 62% from the free throw line. As of who was on the court when the timeout was called, Nimsicon 2 for 4, Mitchell 1 for 2, Ellis, Holiday, and McGregor. None of them have shot free throws yet this game. And that is the 5 that CUC is going to roll out there as Ellis will inbound.
Yeah, if the ball goes to McGregor at all, I think you foul right away on her. You can't let Mitchell get the ball. Mitchell can't have it.
And that's going to be
so it's a delay of game warning. The defender crossed the out of bounds. So across the line, defending the inbounders is what the call was there. But yeah, you can't let Mitchell touch it here if you're the Maroons, and you can't let Nimsicon touch it either.
Well, she does, and they're saying a push from Workman. That is personal foul number 1 for Workman, so she's in the clear, but that will send Nimsicon to the line. Almost really worked out in UChicago's favor as Nimsicon lost it. But instead it'll be 2 coming up for Nimsicon. She is 2 for 4 from the free throw line this game, and coming into today she hadn't attempted any, as her first attempt is good. So there's your 6-point lead. One more could do it for CUC. As Troy pointed out, that would be a 3-possession game unless some shenanigans on a 3-point attempt occur, and there it is, 7-point game.
Big basket.
And that'll force a timeout here from UChicago, as they need 3 possessions here with 36 seconds of clock left.
And what a boost this would be for Concordia's momentum on the young season, right? It's tough when you roll out and perform the way that they did the first 2 games. It's got to be disappointing, especially it's a pretty good mix of young and old players on this team. But, for Coach Martin in her 7th year, you kind of figure at this point it's like, hey, we got to start doing this. And an 0-2 start to the season is not ideal. And so for this team to come back and perform the way that they have today, it really says a lot about what Coach Martin's been able to preach to them at practice. And it tells you that, these girls haven't given up at all. And, in fact, they still very much believe in their coach, and they believe in each other and the team as a whole, that UChicago comes in 4-0, doesn't matter. We're going to give them our best shot. And we've seen that here tonight.
Yeah, and UChicago is, as we get a 30-second timeout called by Coach Martin, she wants as much time as possible to make sure things are set with her team. But I mean, UChicago, if they aren't, they are one of the best teams that CUC is going to play out of conference. Probably one of the best teams they're going to play all year, honestly, even with conference play, just because of the caliber of conference that UChicago's in and what they've done over the last 10 years. So if you're able to win this, like you said, Troy, that's a huge boost going into your final non-conference game before conference play starts. That is on Tuesday, November 26th, 6 p.m. tip-off against the University of Hartford right here at Geisman Gymnasium. And then after that, you got St. Norbert and Concordia, Wisconsin to start off conference play. So this is a huge chance tonight and Tuesday to get as much momentum as possible going up against a tough St. Norbert squad. Here is North in the corner. 3 is good. So UChicago, they will not go away. As Coach Martin, she's going to use as many timeouts as humanly possible as her team now sees their lead at 4.7 seconds, separating the game clock and shot clock.
And that was a good job, UChicago coming out of the timeout. They knew exactly what they were going to look for and got the exact look that they wanted and were able to nail the shot. Now, we were just talking a few minutes ago. It was a 5-point lead with 39 seconds left. Mm-hmm. Now it's a 4-point lead with 30 seconds left. The same things we were talking about still applies here. 2 free throws, assuming they don't get a turnover, they're going to have to foul right away. Mm-hmm. So that'll be, 25 seconds, say, on the clock. 2 free throws again puts it at a 6-point lead. So you'll have to go down and I presume they're going to take another 3-point shot.
Yeah, they need at least one more 3 either way here.
And
it's going to be a question of, do you need a 3 and then a 2, or do you need a 3 and then another 3? So still plenty to figure out here in the last 30 seconds, even though CUC is technically up by, they're technically up by 1 possession if there's a 3 and a foul. But, at this point, Coach Martin's telling her squad, the last thing we're going to do right now when we get on the defensive end is foul. So CUC, they do advance the ball with the timeout. Here's Sydney Mitchell, and she's just going to stand there. She'll get fouled. That'll send Mitchell to the line, where so far tonight she has shot 1 for 2. 1 for 2 tonight, 2 for 5 on the season.
Yeah, it's just too easy for Mitchell to be able to possess the ball like that. Obviously ran through a series of screens to get open, but I would think you might be better off not pressuring the inbounder and just doubling Sydney Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. Second free throw is good, so it's a 6-point game. That means that UChicago needs 2 threes here, as that'll be another timeout, as head coach of UChicago, Michelle Gardner-Bielek, looking to avoid her first loss at the helm of the program. She spent the last 6 seasons as a coach on the staff and an assistant role. She's also coached at New York University, which is the #1 team in the preseason poll for Division III. Also another UAA team. She's director of basketball operations at Columbia University for a handful of years and played at Illinois Wesleyan University, where she won a Division III national title in 2012. So this is a very experienced coach, despite the fact it's her first year as head coach. This is a coach in Gardner-Bielek, who's done a lot throughout her collegiate basketball career, both on the court and on the sideline coaching. And she's going to have to cook up a pretty devious game plan here if she wants to come back from this 6-point deficit in less than 30 seconds.
Yeah, if nothing else, Peter, first of all, they should go fix that net over there so it's not looped up into the basket like that. Anyways, regardless of who wins the game, this is great preparation for both squads as they head into conference play. Mm-hmm. Just preparing for end-of-game scenarios. What does it take offensively?
Right.
It's basically been play, timeout, play, timeout, play, timeout. And that's quality experience not only for the players but also for the coaches kind of navigating what their team can handle.
North puts up a 3, and it airballs. As a scramble on the ground. Who wants it? UChicago has it. There's a whistle, and Gardner-Bielek got a timeout off. So they don't lose possession, but they do lose 11 seconds off the clock, which means they're basically going to need to do a shot, foul, shot with the time they have left. This is going to be an interesting final 17 seconds. You have to kind of figure, Troy, this is most likely it for you, Chicago. If they don't hit a shot on this possession, at that point, I think the math just does not work out in their favor.
Yeah, I'd agree, especially since Concordia's done a good job of hitting the free throws down the stretch here. So, yeah, I mean, you have to hit a you got to go 3, I would imagine, at this point.
You got to hit a quick
a
3
2
here.
doesn't really do much for you. There's just not that much time left.
Samuda out. Here's North. She puts up a 3. She hits it. Man, you Chicago just will not go away. This is back to a 3-point game. 12 seconds to go.
Pressure. If you don't, they don't have timeout. They don't have a timeout. CUC does not have any timeouts left. That's a technical foul.
Well, they're giving it to them. They shouldn't. They have 0 timeouts left. The referees are talking. This might be a timeout, quotes, to let the referees talk this over. Because, yeah, Troy, like you said, we actually saw this with Eric Spoelstra in the Miami Heat not too long ago. He called a timeout late in a game with the Heat. Didn't have a timeout. It was a technical shot.
Yeah, I can't believe that Chicago's not making a fuss about this right now.
Maybe they're waiting for what the call is before, as we see the referee talk to Gardner Bielek now.
So either the scoreboard was wrong, which maybe it was, but I thought CUC was out of timeouts.
We have 0 timeouts in our stat sheet as well, in our stat book as well, the digital stats. So I'm wondering if maybe it's still going to be a technical and they're letting them have the timeout, which they shouldn't. You have 0 timeouts left.
Well, and this has been the longest timeout in history of timeouts. I think we're like 3 minutes into this timeout.
An interesting, very interesting 30 seconds here. I mean, they say the last 2 minutes in a basketball game is the longest 2 minutes you will ever experience, and that is the truth here as... Yeah, Chicago will send Alfaro to the line. This could be devastating for CUC if this comes, worst case scenario, comes to life. Alfaro will shoot.
All right, so it didn't really seem like the refs knew that they didn't have any timeouts left, so then they had to discuss it with the table.
First shot is no good. That is massive. She gets one more. Alfaro.
And possession.
They get possession, but they get another free throw. She does hit that one. So now a 3 wins it, a 2 ties it. Now it's do you go for a 2-point conversion or do you go for the PAT in football? Like, what do you do here? You go for the tie, go into overtime, or do you just say, nah, we want the whole shebang. We're taking a 3.
I think I would go right at the rim and make CUC foul you. If not, kick it out to Alfaro or North. It's going to be North.
This could be it. North drives to the rim. Baseline drive. We're tied. 6.8 seconds. Oh, my goodness. CUC, they have to move. You have 3 seconds. They're just going to... Kira Holiday, she just stood there, and we're going to overtime. Holy cannoli, what just happened?
Absolutely stunned.
I'm speechless. I do not know what to say. That is a breakdown like I have not seen before.
I just go back to the technical foul. I mean, of course, you don't know what was said in the huddle, but you got to imagine that somebody in the Concordia huddle said, hey, guys, we don't have any timeouts. You can't call any timeouts.
Wow. Well, we might need to get a rule book in here, but while we do that, we're going to send it down to Alan Mateo again for another sideline report before we head to overtime. Alan, what do you got for us, buddy?
All right, thank you, Peter. Well, what a crazy turn of events here in this final quarter. Looked like CUC was going to have the W here, but a late run here from the Maroons has cost an overtime. And now with 5 minutes left here, we're going to see who's going to really come out on top. It's really been a back-and-forth game, and super exciting. It's going to be a great finish here. So looking forward to this overtime. Hopefully CUC can pull out the dub. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Alan, for the sideline report. Didn't expect to see Alan on the sideline again, but then again, I didn't expect to be in overtime either. So a dramatic final couple minutes of the fourth quarter. I mean, at one point, this was a 10-point lead going down the stretch. It looked like, obviously, you don't want to say anything for sure. Obviously, you don't want to say anything for sure, but this looked like everything was said and done. Here we are, 5 minutes for overtime as UChicago, they have all the momentum right now on their side. See what they can do, or if CUC can clutch up and avoid a catastrophic loss here in the home opener. Sanders surveys the scene. She's going to go now. Ball up off the glass. No good. She gets her own miss. Sanders from the free throw line gets it to fall. UChicago strikes first here in overtime.
Well, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm still processing the final 30 seconds of that quarter. But, oh well, here we are. Turnaround jumper from Ellis. No good. Couple bad bounces. Here comes Alfaro. Funny enough, last year's home opener for women's basketball went to overtime as well. Went to double overtime against Illinois College. See if we get something similar here as UChicago is going to draw a foul. Well, and that's something else, Troy, with another 5 minutes of play. You have to watch the fouls even more now. So you see three players with three, and Nimsicott, King, and Mitchell, while UChicago, they have Kate Gross, one of their best players. She's out there right now. She's got four, and Bree Simpson, she's already done for the night. She committed her fifth foul in the last quarter as North able to hit her first free throw.
Yeah, I think that actually favors the Cougars. They've got a deeper bench, and like we talked about earlier, a couple players that have played significant minutes that haven't touched the floor here tonight. But, man, Sophia North had 3 points going into the fourth quarter. We touched on that in between the third and the fourth quarters, and she's got 17 now.
She's got 17,
She had a 13-point fourth quarter and really kind of willed her team back into the game
I was
and into
gonna
overtime.
say, that is called dragging your team to overtime, whether they like it or not. She had 24 in their last game. She's come to life here. Chicago, CUC, they got to get something off here. 2 seconds. One, they get it off in time. No good. McGregor own miss. And now everyone's tied up. Jump ball favors CUC.
Just a really stagnant possession there by the Cougars. A lot of iso ball, not a lot of movement.
A lot of standing around. Yep.
And the Maroons just clearly playing with more energy right now.
That ball's tipped away. Here's Samoda. Fort North, UChicago will get possession here. They're going to slow things down. Now they can start to eat up some of the clock. Sanders finds North over to Alfaro. Alfaro now drive and a foul. That will be on UChicago. It is North. Commits the no-no there. That'll be foul number 1 for North. So Sophia North doesn't really have to worry about foul trouble here. She's still got 4 to give away before she's kicked out. But here's Sydney Mitchell. She's got 3. She finds Nimsicott. Thought about a 3. Good coverage by Gross. Gross switches with North. Those are the 2 leading scorers for UChicago coming into the game. Gross with 7, North with 17. 5 seconds on the shot clock. 3 ball from Missouri Wingham. No good. Rebound Samuda. CUC has lost their shooting touch at the worst possible time.
Yeah, since about 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, the Maroons are on a 20-7 run. And you mentioned it, but really in the second half, it was Sydney Nimsakant that got the Cougars back into it. And so she's going to have to get a couple shots off here, maybe a couple threes, even give her a look at it, see if, she's been probably the most consistent shooter tonight. Ellis has been solid as well, but I would think some sort of offensive play. Right now, the Cougars, they just seem to be
it's just stagnant.
Going through the motions offensively. There's been no plays as there's a kind of a pick.
Yeah, no one's down low. The paint is completely empty as Sydney Mitchell, highlight reel play. She says, yeah, I'll go to the paint. Grabs the bucket, grabs a free throw, and with a make here, she's got CUC back within 2.
In order to win these types of games, Peter, you've got to have great individual efforts. And for both teams down the stretch here, once this game got close again, we've seen some fantastic individual efforts by both squads in order to try and will their team to victory here.
Great plays, great players make great plays as Michaela Ellis can't finish off the three-point play. Her team's still back within 1 possession, 53-50 in favor of the Maroons. Less than 2 minutes to go here in overtime.
That's tough. It touched the entire basket except the bottom of the net.
Here's Alfaro inside to Samuda. She drops it. That would have been an easy look, but now a foul. 2 shots coming for Samuda as Michaela Ellis, she will commit her 3rd foul of the night. So now she's got to be careful, but with 93 seconds left, you aren't too worried about fouling out right now. You're just worried about winning this ball game. Shot up for Samuda is no good. Too hard on that. Samuda 3 for 5 from the free throw line right now. Coming into tonight, she had no free throw attempts. As her next shot, that one does fall, so back to a 2-possession game. Here's Mitchell.
Yeah, I'd like some sort of set here to get Ellis one-on-one or Nimsakant a good look at a 3.
She puts it up, and it's blocked by Kate Gross. Kate Gross taking names out there. That was a hefty block, and CU Chicago comes away with it. Here's Kate Gross. Gross has to be careful, too. She has 4 personal fouls, but she's been very aggressive defensively nonetheless. And Sydney Mitchell, she's aggressive defensively. She comes away with the steal, puts up the layup, and it's good. Sydney Mitchell, great play as she's got CUC back within 2.
That's big. It swings the momentum of the 30 seconds, and messes it all up. 2-point game now with a ton of time left.
CUC, if things fall right, they could get the last shot, but here comes Sophia Norris. She passes it to Samuda. Samuda over. Kate Gross, 3-ball is good. That is huge, as it is now a 5-point game in favor of the Maroons. And CUC, they will use their timeout here. Only timeout allotted to CUC in the overtime period, and very familiar position. 36 seconds, one team up by 2 possessions, except this time it is the Cougars on the deficit end. U Chicago trying to come away with a very impressive win.
U Chicago's hit 4 of their last 7 3-point attempts, and they're 3 of the last 3 from the field. So,
yeah, I mean, remember at one point they were shooting 13% from 3, and that was not too long ago.
Right.
They're at 23% now. They've gone up 10% in their 3-point shooting, which is pretty hard to do when you're getting later in the game because you have so many shots. It's hard to swing the percentage that much when you've taken what they have at 33-point attempts so far. Yet somehow between really the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter and where we are now, about 10 minutes of game time later, they have swung up to a still not great 23%, but they've really been lighting it up in the last 10 minutes. Destiny Cox pivots and can't get it to fall. She gets the rebound, though. Michaela Ellis, 4-3, no good off the back iron, and Alfaro comes away. Cox will foul.
It's actually pretty impressive when you look at the stats, the comparison between these two right now. UChicago's 19 of 56 from the field. CUC is 19 of 55 from the field. So the same amount of made baskets, and CUC's attempted one more. 19 of 55 versus 19 of 56. From the three-point line, 23% to 24%. I mean, at this point, these teams couldn't be shooting at a more equal percentage, and they both have 18 turnovers, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, the three-point percentage, it's 23.3 UChicago, 23.8 CUC. It's just insane how close these two teams are, but it's because UChicago's clutched up here. Sydney Mitchell tries one from Elmhurst, and that is no good. And at this point, UChicago's just got to run it out. They will head to the free throw line. It is currently a 6-point game. You figure with at least one made free throw, it's a 3-possession game, and that'll likely do it with 12.1 seconds left.
It's disappointing for the Cougars. You felt like you really had this one in the bag, coming down the stretch with a 10-point lead with 3 minutes to go and a 6-point lead with 30 seconds to go. But just the unfortunate mistake of calling that timeout, and while they only made the one free throw, they were able to get the bucket on the possession,
right,
and totally flip this game upside down. And good for the Maroons for taking advantage of the CUC miscues. But, man, this one got away.
Sydney Mitchell, hard to the rim, no good. McGregor, you got to put it up. You don't have much time left, and that will do it. UChicago. They were down by 10 points in the fourth quarter, 6:20 to go. It was 41-31 CUC. Since that point, it is a 29-11 run in favor of UChicago as they steal the home opener from the Cougars. There's a lot to dissect in that last 6:20 of that fourth quarter.
Yeah, good for the Maroons. I mean, to come here,
they earned that one.
Really struggle for 38 minutes.
I mean, most of the game.
Yeah. I mean, just struggled to find the basket.
And I mentioned it. It was kind of like you're waiting for that pin to drop with UChicago. Like, we know how good they've been this year. We know how good they've been for the past decade. And through, like you said, through the first, 35 minutes of the game, 34 minutes of the game, like, it looked like you were just waiting for them to kind of take that step into the team that they are. They hadn't. And they did it for the last 5 minutes, the last 10 minutes when you include overtime, and they come away with a big overtime win against CUC. And, I mean, for the Cougars, we talked about that late-game situation for CUC and how it really is a skill to play in those late games, something that they haven't done yet this season because they were blowing out their first two games. And we saw a very inexperienced squad in CUC in that regard, playing with a lead with 30 seconds left. I mean, obviously, I've never played a second of organized basketball in my life, but, it's a mountain to climb for the team who's down. And somehow UChicago was able to do it.
Yeah, and they took
to life.
Advantage of the Cougars' mistakes, and they made shots when they needed to make shots. It was, almost like they unlocked the lid to the basket with about a minute to go in the game. And
they're
to finish how they did, a 6-0 run to end the game.
Mm-hmm.
They made their last 3 field goals,
and
4 of their last 7 3-point baskets. I mean, and CUC finished 0 for 4 in the game. And really, when it came down to it, push came to shove, the veteran team, the team that's been here before, played in these tough games against quality competition, they came out on top tonight, and that's where CUC is going to have to grow in the future. And you don't want to take away from what this was for the Cougars, right? This was not a game that on paper they were supposed to be in.
If you said you were going to lose the game 60-52, you'd probably be like, I mean, yeah, we don't like to lose, but hey, that's a respectable score against a very good UChicago team for a CUC team who's really struggled. It's just about the way they lost 60-52.
Correct, and you know, for a lot of people, they don't believe in moral victories, and that's understood. But for CUC, you have to feel like you took a step forward today. You know, maybe not a complete step. Maybe it was a step forward and a half a step back. But going forward, you've got to feel confident about your ability to compete with conference opponents coming up, knowing that you just took really one of the best teams from one of the best conferences, certainly one of the best women's basketball conferences in the entire nation in Division III, to overtime. I mean,
well, and you were 30 seconds away from beating them too. Like you were 12 seconds away from beating them. So a lot to unpack here for Coach Martin and her coaching staff. Let's look over some of the stat leaders and then get out of here. Points wise, Sydney Nimsicott leading the way for the game. 19 points for the freshman as she continues an impressive start to her collegiate career. 17 points for Sophia North to lead UChicago. She really came alive in that last quarter to bring her team to victory. Rebounds, Michaela Ellis had 11, while Samuda on UChicago, she had 11 as well. And for assists, Sydney Mitchell dishing out 3 for the Cougars, while Casey Samuda with 3 for University of Chicago. So CUC, they are back in action this Tuesday. They will take on the University of Hartford right here in Geisman Gymnasium. A little pre-Thanksgiving basketball. Tip-off is set for 6 p.m. Coverage can be found at our website, cucougars.com, and the live stream can be found on our YouTube page, CUC Sports. Wanted to say thanks to everybody making this Cougar Sports Network. There we go. It's been a long game. Production possible. Down at the scorers table, we had Tyler Dorsch and we had David Dimeling helping out with the stats over on the up on the production booth. We had Ashley Schroll as well as Jessica Gang. We had Hannah Holmes floating around taking our photographs, and our camera crew for the night was Jalen Franklin down on the baseline, and then we had Emily Lucero and Samantha Ferdinand working the cameras up behind Troy and I. Troy Pratley joined me on the call all evening, and then we are under the direction of our graduate assistant, Sydney Lloyd. Oh, and Alan Mateo, of course. Cannot forget our sideline reporter, Alan Mateo. We're under the direction of our graduate assistant, Sydney Lloyd, our assistant sports information director, Corey Welch, and then our sports information director, Kayla McLeod. One more time, CUC falls in dramatic fashion to the University of Chicago, 60-52 in overtime. CUC back at it this Tuesday, November 26th at 6 p.m. Coverage for that game against the University of Hartford here in Geisman can be found on our website, cucougars.com, and on our YouTube page, CUC Sports. That's where the live stream will be. But until next time, this is Peter Borkowski signing off for the Cougar Sports Network, and wanting to say, as always, go Cougs!
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Concordia University Chicago Cougars Athletics broadcast. We hope to see you on campus very soon. If you would like to learn more about what Concordia Chicago has to offer, go to cuchicago.edu.